I can't hear us though, right?
Not yet.
Okay, just check before I say something else.
All right, well, we have a quorum present, both here in person and on the phone. So we're going to play short. I would just remind those folks that are on the teleconference, your phone on your want to see so you know that's potential feedback now also, of course, calls for public comment. All our all this we need to learn to see all right.
Flag of the United States to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, justice for all.
It's gonna be fun.
It's our 20.
Present. All right, at the top of our agenda, we have the introduction of police officers. This time, I'd like to ask Chief Elmeyer and I will let him introduce the portion of the EDC.
Yeah, I would like to recognize the three most recent attorneys from the Academy. They spent time there at the Academy, spent time with us, online courses throughout COVID. All three of them graduated and back to legal training, and we're on the road. Caleb Clover, Benjamin Thomas, and Officer John Hopkins. I said all three.
All right, are there any questions on the bills? Or do you need more time? Sir. All right. Is there a motion to pay the bills? Motion for this use of second from all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Old business, we have no grant for action, action,
I did get, as reported at the last meeting, they had a delinquency of they had a delinquency of the water bill of $4,900, approximately some change they didn't pay. Speaking of that fraud day, they now have to into August 6th, due date $1,052 an hour. As to we had three issues that were dealt with in the letter to them dated July 16th, 2020. They had ignored letters back in January 2020 and April 2020. They finally did respond to our July 2020 letter. The second matter was the issue of their non-payment of the mobile home license fees, which they were behind for the years 2018, 2019, and 2020. The total amount they owed for those license fees and penalties was $4,410. Leslie Mulholland gave me an update today that she did receive the application for a new license and received in yesterday's mail a check for $1,420, which is the license fee for 1 year. So they still do owe 2 years of license fees plus penalties, which is $2,990 that they owe for the license fee. We would recommend that no new license be issued until they paid all past delinquent amounts and notify them to that effect. The third matter that was addressed to them is the question of the city's discontinuance of reading individual meters and billing all water to the mobile home park through the master meter. They were notified by our July 16th letter that would become effective with the water billing cycle beginning August 9th. Question that we have, and I guess Catherine and Tim can give any input they have on this, is does the city council at this point want to tell them, as they were informed by that letter, this is how you're going reported at the last meeting, when after they did pay their water bill current as to what they owed then, they were advised that we did point out these other two issues to you in this prior letter. How are you going to respond? They did not respond to us in any manner. So I guess two issues to be addressed now are: number one would be that we do advise them that they will not be issued a new mobile home park license until they pay all past due amounts. Number two would be the question: do we notify them, as set forth in our July 16th letter, that we will begin billing with this cycle that we're now in, all water through the master meter directly to them rather than reading the individual meters of their tenants. So I don't know if that is something that we would be in a position to do this billing cycle. Catherine and Kim can let us know if that could be done, or if we need to wait till the next billing cycle to do that.
Catherine?
The next billing cycle. This we were to that the individual meters they were lapsed around time because they're after that
Yeah, that sounds fine. We would agree 40, possibly 100, 15.
All right. In terms of the licenses that are open, fees are open, and the question of whether that would be really moving out of the license fees. I don't want to license fees like most things I'm assuming we get back to that sometimes. But at this point, I would say yes, they are going to issue a license.
Yeah, I do have one more issue, Mayor. I have one other item I did not speak to yet. I was just looking to see if Eric Kennedy was here. I do not believe that they've been issued yet any type of citation for past operation without a license, which is a violation. So, of course, that's a measure that can be taken also. Eric Kennedy's recognition for citation. Oh, I missed Eric.
I would like to go. Richard, I'm not sure how that will be. I think there is some
But as far as you know, we haven't.
no.
Well, they are aware, because I told them that all parcels.
They pay $1,420, which is their annual license, without any penalty. They owe $2,990, which that's two fees at $1,420 plus $350 penalty. Not permitted by the
Any other comments, Pierce?
Are we going to treat this
could suggest that we treat that as payment for 2018. They still owe the penalty for 2018, and now it's 2019, the penalty 2020.
So if we did not issue this license, what happened to people who were living in the wherever?
Well, nothing. They continue to live there and living there. Basically, the trailer parks have been operating outside the town now for two and a half years.
If you're going to tell them that we're not going to issue the license, so it doesn't
Well, I agree with that. It does seem like they are being a little more cooperative than they were before. So
I think it's a different way. You don't know the time to do it.
I think there's a combination. Most people do own their own trailers, but the park owners do own some.
Richard, you have your questions answered.
I believe so, Your Honor. Yes. Mayor.
Of course, it has. Are there any more questions? Under new business, we have presentation of financial reports next time.
Okay, in your packet, you have two reports tonight. First of which is the sales tax report, which these exceeded last year's total of over $2,000. This point last year, so continue to be surprised by that. Good side. And once it drops off the cliff, the next 4 months, it should actually exceed last year's result. Never would have thought that was going to happen. So far, so far. And on the other side, just a snapshot of what the general fund is 7 months. So through 7 months, our cost of the general fund, our tax was at $2,957,000. Actual revenues are $3,022,000. We budgeted $3,266,000. So we are a little behind there, but a couple reasons for that. Obviously, tax so represents last month's income tax collection. Anyway, but we always run just a little bit higher right now because it doesn't factor in the property tax collection as well. And really, the only department that is over budget at the moment is the fire department. We purchased the excavation equipment for about $30,000. And buy it. See that adjustment for all those things. Fire department coming back budget as well. So, any questions on those reports or anything else?
Yes, sir. Just make comments, not questions. On comments, today, a number of other mayors here in this area, the city of Parkdale, they are all $1 million in their budget so far for this year. Here in the city hearings, they were all $300,000 now. And other mayors here reported other areas around the city. But I just, Karen Marcel
unless somehow we know we can get it there a lot, so I ask them.
Yeah, that's, no wood for me to knock on.
The state is always.
I know. Yes, so, that presentation, last night, it's called positive. First, so that's correct. That, the only thing I have to say on this item is discussed in the last BDBs, $5,000 is money that's budgeted in the city's budget. This is half of the initial budget, so they weren't involved directly in placement project, by lots of project. I support the funding, I know there's been some that said should,
I was not here last meeting when that talked about it for a long time, a little day. After our discussion, you're right, it's not
all right. Musical great introduction.
All what this organization, the Alliance, and all the groups that they are involved that are running the administration background and community, they give more than $5,000. What we as a city can help. It is a budgeted item, and I am totally supportive. They give more than we as a city.
All right, well, it's their motion.
all in favor.
The motion was to pay 5,000 as service.
The final item under new business is resolution recognizing so this is the item from earlier last night. We talked about putting it on we have to have that.
Richard, you want to speak to
If it's going to be done, it would be done by an advisory referendum. We have a deadline for passing a resolution. So, by the time it's down by 5, August 14th. So, this time to do it, if council wants to. Or an advisory referendum, it requires a vote of a majority of the city council. We need to vote a alternate to vote in favor. In looking at what the question would be by an advisory referendum, with adult cannabis, there are 6 possible licenses available. Everybody's familiar with the dispensary license. One would be a dispensary license. Other licenses that there are for adult use cannabis would be a cultivation center, a craft grower, of course, dispensary, an infuser, a processing organization, a transporting organization. So if this is going to be presented as an advisory referendum, it needs to be clear exactly what it is that the city would want to put the question out there for. Would it be all adult use businesses, all adult use cannabis business establishments, or would it be one of those establishments, or more than one, such as, if it's dispensaries that the main concern would be? Would it be the question of, should the city of Murphysboro ban adult use cannabis dispensary businesses within the city of Murphysboro? Or is it going to be all adult cannabis businesses? Or is it going to be one or two? So that's something that needs to be considered if the city council is of an opinion to present this question by an advisory referendum. Of course, that is not any type of requirement for adult use cannabis businesses. I know this was just something that was discussed as a possibility when that legislation first became effective. So we're bringing it to the attention of the council. If that's something that the city council wants to do by an advisory referendum, we're at the cutoff time now to get it on the ballot for November 3rd. So you can ask me any questions you have on those. It gets confusing, the different adult use cannabis businesses there are.
Honestly, this, I guess we've already banned, right, from the beginning. The question would be, would
I believe, okay. By the city's action that was taken, it was not in order to prohibit adult use cannabis businesses, it requires an ordinance enacted doing that. The way the question was raised and was voted on, it's not an effective means of prohibiting adult use cannabis businesses. So the question would be, shall the city prohibit those businesses?
Correct me please if I'm wrong, but I think last time we decided to use the ballot. In the city we all allow not the businesses and business consumption. Am I wrong, or we need to, now this is part one, part two, do we need to apply to all 6 types, put them on the ballot, all 6 types of permits or licenses?
That would be up to the city council. It's city council action that does it. If we just put it as an advisory referendum, the results of that election, the election on that referendum will not control. The city council will still say, that's an advisory referendum. We're going to do what we want to do. This is not something that is required to be presented by a referendum by which the voters, the results of that election would control what is done. It still comes back to the city council to say, knowing what now happened with this referendum, the voters speaking, what are we going to do?
Lot
Pittsburgh was the hot button item that we discussed so much. So, and I guess I misunderstood where we were at last night. Up to this point, somebody was running in the isolation of the state
They could have.
So I thought our vote last night was not allowed. That right?
It was the phrasing of the motion and what it would take to be effective. Legal action by the council to prohibit. I don't remember exactly that motion, but I remember back and look at it.
I mean, take a motion.
Here and there, I guess. So, I mean, does anybody have a preference on what we do on this one? I know, Bill, you were the one who said we should put something on there, so I would think that you should still think we should put something on there.
It could only be an advisory referendum. There's no authority to make a binding referendum.
Sorry. And then
I think the difficulty would be, kind of where we're going with that, would be how we form the question. It's not a question that everybody can check off. This establishment, no, this establishment. It's one question. Straightforward terms. So it's going to be a dispensary that's in the city of Murphysboro, prohibit adult use of cannabis, dispensing business organization. Yes, no. Or if it's going to be all, the city of Murphysboro prohibit all adult use of cannabis business establishments. That's easy, yes or no. A referendum is just a yes/no question. It needs to be a straight, precise question. It's not an ability to, here's my input, yes here, no here, yes here, no here.
Well, the point is to up to six. What if we ask about one of six half? I think reading the public sentence would be the same thing because essentially walk in there and everything. So do I want to allow marijuana in these zones? So phraseology doesn't bother me. I think the dispensary question would be what most people recognize and understand and still want it based off of that. Bill, I think you had a question
we as a
about
council
laws.
are having trouble. We all speak where to go. I think it would make it simple to be put on the ballot. Let the whole party
That's fine. Bill, did you have a question about cost?
Now, it's the resolution and then we do a certification for the city clerk, to prepare the certification to their county clerk. Then they arrange to place it on ballot. language to use to follow the statute that we're looking at in adult use cannabis business establishments would be shall the city of Murphysboro prohibit adult use cannabis. It's going to be all establishments, business establishments within the city of Murphysboro, or if it's going to be dispensing. You want to get that out, it would be in shall the city of Murphysboro prohibit adult use cannabis dispensing business establishments within the city of Murphysboro.
That's the question out there. And so that, if that is, in the motion, just heard this sort of thing. John Mason, your attorney Blake, that he says to apply the state statute, they can question without banning that activity to be said whether it was. So there, that's a motion. Is there a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Joe, Mr. Pittman, and Mr. Pearson. Is that right? Motion carries. All right. Is there another comment on the budget planning? Then we'll move out of budget planning. All right, that takes building grounds. I know that all these offices. We have no whole business. We have no new business as a building grounds. Alderman Mahone, do you have anything for the order of your committee? So that means no. Is there any public comment? All right, we'll come out of building and grounds. Take us to the relations here, Mr. John Purvis. John is asking us to handle the state stations on teleconference meetings. So we have no old business. Under new business, we have discussed regarding the adoption of one of the requiring masks. Comment. I respect my motion.
Mayor, for me, it's very simple. We are required to wear masks wherever we are. And it's up to our choice to go in or not. You want to go in the store, you can go in the library, or you can go in person. I don't think our police department have the manpower and resources and actually feel that it will be too much to us to catch without us. So how we have to draw the line where we as a entity, as a speed, will be kind the citizens. I think and I feel so I am totally against it. I would not like to see the police department chasing people with a mask. I'd rather get them for the
we all do our part, as well as we can get to them as possible. It's not hurting the that means
That's real. Ms. Carliston and Mr. Pearson. Department of Public Health.
The sheriff, the local government.
Not necessarily be hurting our police any more than smoking would be. That thing my thing is, we don't know how people run the business or our own business, because that's an area of usual function like that. But this disease, you don't even know what they have at the time. So, you don't even, they have it, and they don't want to ask them, that's wrong. If I get it, I so, probably that's the best position we should get. I was reported last week, get on this 1,000. Down there, Avery Park, but down there, you come in without masks, and you're asking that doesn't apply to us because the mandate doesn't say anything about customers. It talks about people in there. But I'm fully supporting letting the businesses know that they have to do this. I don't think we can fine them. Maybe there's an ordinance you can do to fine them, but I don't think there is. But I think we should at least warn them and tell them, you're costing yourself a lot of business by not doing this.
Ms. Campos?
Yes, and let me be clear. I'm not against masks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I realize.
Oh, I'm not against masks.
I'm not either.
It is, that is my point. But the people, wherever I go, I take and I have them in my car and wherever, because I know that they require them. And as a respectful person, I put them on if I want to get in. So instead of us doing an ordinance over a mandate from the governor, why we don't do a recommendation? Why we have to make everything an ordinance? I think everybody, a business owners, wherever I have been out and about this week, and everybody requires a mask. And it's, wherever you go, big letters. I go to visit people and I wear a mask, personally. So you know what, as a city, it's not that I'm against the mask. It's about us as a government unity, come and commanding the people more.
Mr. Bastian? Yeah, well, and just a little bit of a response to Gloria. I agree with what you're saying, but you show respect, you wear your mask. There are people that they don't care. And I was at Walmart today. I walked in the store and there was a couple in front of me. They said there is a mask required. They said, "You got to be kidding me." They turned around and left. I respect them for that. I was leaving the worker there told this gentleman, he said there is a requirement to wear a mask. He said, "I don't give a, I'm going in," and he walked in. They have, and I heard it, and the young man working there said to me, he said, "I don't know what to do. We have no help. We have no support." And I said, "Well, we are discussing that at a city council meeting tonight." I said, "I don't know if they're going to come out here and arrest people or whatever." He said, "Anything the city could do to help us out, to give us a little," I believe his words, "put a little bit of teeth behind it, we would appreciate that," because he says it's a losing battle, because you have the people that don't care.
Of course, there
that's
is
just
always,
it, yeah.
there is always going to be that, but you
And
know.
this may just help a little. I mean, I know the police department are busy. I don't expect them to go out there 15 times a day, and if they're at a robbery call, to stop that and run out and mask patrol, but I do think it would help, and I do think we owe that to one another, to be respectful and to
Dear people to me have died from COVID, really died, so.
I want to say something in response to that. I mean, currently, if a business asks a customer to leave and they don't leave, they can call our police department anyway. We don't need a mask for a business to be, a mask ordinance for a business to be able to ask a customer that they want to leave and get our police department's assistance in that. I mean, it could be, they could serve them with a trespassing violation or, you know, whatever. They don't, I mean, whatever reason they're asking them to leave, the mask being it, but.
Yeah, that is true, that, and the police chief has said this. Chief, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, just so you guys are aware, on May 1st, when the governor come out with what I considered for the businesses like Walmart, Rural King, Kroger, and all those, as an option to enforce it, or say we highly recommend it. So on May 3rd, I went to 5 or 6 of our big stores, spoke with management at each one, and I asked them, I said, "Are you guys, where do you stand? Are you guys going to enforce this to where nobody's coming in if they don't put them on?" And all 5 or 6 said, "Nope, we're going to let them in, we're going to highly recommend it." I even offered at that time, as what WJ just spoke on, if you have a customer that you tell to put the mask on and they don't want to do it and give you trouble and you want them out, call us and we'll remove them for trespass and even issue them a citation. My knowledge of that is we haven't had one call received since then, correct, Mike? So none of them have called, and we did approach that on May 3rd, just so you guys know. So,
Thank you, Chief.
yeah.
I would just say...
Speak to it briefly.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Irvis.
Well, I support the requirement that people wear masks. I do. I think it's important that we follow that recommendation, but I'm not in favor of passing an ordinance requiring it. My concern is passing an ordinance and then enforcing it. I think we're creating more problems by trying to enforce it. So while I support the need for people to wear masks, I do not support passing an ordinance requiring it.
Thank you, Mr. Irvis. A couple things I would share. I agree with what others have said, that people should wear masks, and they are, because I've spent 2 different sessions sitting at Walmart, Rural King, Kroger, and Dollar General, about an hour and a half in total, and I counted every person that went in and out of those stores, and in that hour and a half, across all those different places, 122 people that entered were wearing masks, and 12 were not wearing masks. And so across the spectrum, that's about 90% of people that are wearing masks, and I know that my study wasn't comprehensive, and it was this afternoon between about 2 and 2:45, and over the weekend earlier in the mid-morning or so. And so I don't want us to necessarily come out here, no matter what we pass, saying that the citizens of Murphysboro are just wildly being irresponsible, because I think that there are some instances of people that are, but I don't think that's the vast majority. There's been a statewide mask mandate since May 1. Today, JCAR, committee of the legislature, voted to uphold Governor Pritzker's mandate that essentially allows those entities we talked about earlier to fine a business up to $2,500 for if their employees are not wearing masks. I saw one particular business on Walnut Street who now has their employees wearing masks that had been a source of a lot of controversy before. So in any case, I don't want us to be disingenuous about the ordinances that we pass, and that's the reason why I fully think that people ought to wear masks, but I am hesitant to adopt a mask ordinance. That's just my perspective. Now, I think it's important that Mr. Blake, I know there is an ordinance that has been drafted or that the Municipal League made ready. Richard, do you want to speak to what that ordinance really is? Because one of the things that I am concerned about, we haven't talked about yet, if we do get a call and an officer responds and a person says, I have COPD and so I cannot wear a mask, what is the burden of proof in the bread aisle of the grocery store to either cite that person or not cite that person in real life? So those are a couple things I'm curious, and I thought maybe Richard could talk about.
It is correct that the Illinois Municipal League did prepare a model ordinance requiring masks to be worn for municipalities that were interested in doing so. I believe they do have an exception, a situation that you just spoke of, Mayor, where for medical reasons a person is unable to do so.
Do they specify what those medical reasons are at all?
Let me see, and I just kind of glanced over this. I did not read it extremely closely.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that, Richard.
That in that email from Brad Cole also.
I'm sorry, Barb.
There is a link to that in the email from Brad Cole today.
Okay.
The specific exception in this ordinance reads, protective face coverings are not required for children under 2 years of age or for those with medical issues that would be compromised by wearing a face covering.
All right.
Mayor, that is what the city of Carbondale states. That's what they state in theirs as well.
The city of Carbondale adopted that ordinance, is that what you said?
They did, yes, it is.
Okay. I believe I have a member of the public.
Excuse me, may I speak now?
Hold on just one moment. We have somebody in the audience who wishes to speak, and then I can get to the person who just requested so on the phone. If you could approach the podium, I'd appreciate it, ma'am.
I would like to speak.
All right, well, we'll get to you momentarily.
Okay. What I retired. Compromised tells him he has heart problems. The reason I wear a mask is because I'm not compromised for myself. But whenever I go to the public, I don't know out there who is coronavirus. Who's got it, and they're just starting to realize I've got some problems. So I wear it for myself, to protect myself. But I also wear it to protect my husband who is compromised with health issues. Because it would hurt me so bad if I came home and got infected and die, then I would have this feeling, well, if I had worn a mask, it's nobody knows. Nobody out there knows who you actually are. You come in and take tests to find out, yes, you're positive. So I was going to have been so since I was so bad. I have always been so aware of the germs and everything, washing hands and all that stuff. That's why I was taught in nursing school. Make sure that you have a mask on, make sure that you wash your hands. And this is way before all this coronavirus thing. But I'm going to be right now because even if I got this home and my husband got sick, and it took a toll on his heart and he passed away, you come to the house and you got infected your dog, going up over the ranch and you fell after a house by husband. He's a good man. You're out from Murphysboro, on the Smith Motel. And I told our call to live in the girl's house, and I did everything in our power to protect the citizens of Murphysboro as surrounded areas, and this is all about the mask, so I'm with you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I believe we have someone on the phone who wishes to address the council. That person, could you state your name?
My name is Michael O'Keefe.
Mr. O'Keefe, your floor is yours, please.
Okay, first of all, I would like to say, what you said about more people wearing masks is good news to me. I haven't been out of my home for a couple of weeks, so what I say is what I've experienced then. Okay? My name is Michael O'Keefe. I moved to Murphysboro in 1978, so I am old. I am afraid to go anywhere in this town, even this meeting, because so many of my fellow citizens refuse to wear a face mask in public. I believe we need an ordinance like Carbondale has. Dr. Engel, my dentist from the Smile Place, also believes we need a mask ordinance. She wears a mask all day, every work day. And we have perfectly healthy men in this town that won't even wear a mask long enough to buy a six-pack of beer from Casey's. Now, I pray to God that no one in Murphysboro gets sick and dies, but chances are some of us will. Maybe some already have, I don't know. I do know God helps those who help themselves. What we need more than an ordinance is common sense and compassion for one another that will make us work to do the right thing, which is always wear a mask in public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Keefe. Appreciate that. I have one more comment here from someone in the auditorium, if they wish to share it, and then we can go on and figure out what we're going to do on this question.
Mayor Stevens, I'd like to also make a comment after the person at the podium speaks, please.
All right, hold on just one moment, please.
Well, I'm Sharon Harris Johnson, and I think I'm far away from everyone enough to remove my mask. Most of you know me, probably as Mrs. Johnson, if you had a child at the middle school or you were at the middle school in the 90s. I am coming tonight. I happen to just hear about this, and I'm coming for all senior citizens. We are afraid. We are afraid. I will be 70 in a few weeks. My husband turned 70 in March. He has severe breathing problems. Now you see him out here walking up and down the streets trying to exercise. But because of his family situation, he does have to battle his weight. So he's got two strikes against him right there, as the other lady mentioned. I have heard so many people talk about how scared they are to go out, especially in Murphysboro. And Mayor, I'm glad that you had a good experience seeing people wearing masks. A lot of us have not seen that. We see so many people who are not wearing masks, and I understand. For most of my career, I was a school principal, and then I was a school superintendent. I only taught school for a few years. So I know about discipline, and I know about making rules. And I know that it would be almost impossible. We cannot take our precious police when they are protecting us from danger to be running around and trying to arrest people. But I do think we need to put some teeth into this. I mean, when I was a principal, the law says that you have to come to school and you have to send your children to school until they're 16, but there was no teeth. Nothing happened. We went out and visited the home, told the parents, They didn't send them, we couldn't do anything. So since there was no teeth in it, some children just weren't educated. They just stayed home. And, you know, I know that you're not going to throw people in jail for not throwing masks. But I think you are entrusted with governing our city. And I appreciate you doing this. I know this takes a lot of your time, and this takes a lot of your energy, and I appreciate those who serve our community. I sat on the county board. I know that you're consumed with the problems of the people that you represent, and that's a very difficult task. I think it would say a lot about our town if you were to stand up and make the difficult decision. It is difficult to make that decision. If you would stand up and say, we do not want people without masks entering our businesses. We want to enforce that, and we want to protect our citizens. We are looking for you. I mean, maybe there are some people out there. I called the health department on a situation, and I was told we really can't do much about it except call them. And that may be the situation. I don't know. Some of this information I'm hearing tonight's new, but what the people think is there's no teeth, just like what the person said about Walmart, you know. So I think it would mean a lot. It would make me feel very good that my city council cares about me and my husband and my other friends who live in Murphysboro who are older or we have health issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharon. All right, we have one more person, I believe, on the phone that would like to address the City Council. If you could, please state your name.
I'm Tammy Hopkins Williams. I'm a lifetime resident of Murphysboro, and I totally support an ordinance to wear a mask. I have elderly parents that are afraid to even go out of their house because of people that are inconsiderate and don't wear masks in this town. My parents are basically prisoners in their own home because we have businesses that aren't wearing masks. They can't patronize places they look forward to opening because they're not wearing masks. And as far as taking my parents anywhere, we will cancel for everything. I would appreciate it if we would pass an ordinance to at least, if not make the entire city wear masks, at least the businesses are required to wear them. I would appreciate it, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, well, is there a motion on the matter?
I'll make a motion. I'm not sure how I'd want to word it. That's the big problem I have. To have an ordinance for people to wear a mask in a store or on the side. I don't think you can make them wear them on the sidewalk because you're going to be distanced there. Should be anywhere.
I would think, Bill, that, you know, the model ordinance that Richard has, if an ordinance were to be adopted, I don't know all the language in that ordinance.
Mayor, can I just add?
Mr. Bastian?
I made just a few notes. I read the Carbondale ordinance, and it sounds like it's the same, they followed the same as the other municipalities, but they indicated in there that they would, I think this needs to be put into the ordinance, that they will wear the mask until we're out of phase 5, or until our cases drop to where we're not in danger anymore. Because we can always reverse the ordinance. It did indicate children under 2 years do not have to wear a mask. It said they do not have to wear a mask. I think it stated medical issues that would be compromised by wearing face covering. I believe Mr. Blake said that as well. It's not required if you're doing physical activities such as walking, running, etc., things like that, or if you're eating or drinking inside dining like that. So I do think that needs to be included in it.
Okay.
I think maybe we could follow the Carbondale. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to throw some of that out there that I think.
Well, I hadn't read the ordinance completely, but as far as people that are compromised while wearing masks, all they have to do is get a statement from their doctor.
Right.
Carry it with them. It's pretty easy. If they're that compromised, the doctor would be glad to give them a statement, I'm sure. So I would move that we adopt the ordinance that Richard presented to us with, did you want some changes made in it?
No, I think that pretty well is the same that's in that one, isn't it, Richard?
This model ordinance it's from the Illinois Municipal League. It's more restrictive. I'll just read the introductory to it, and then it makes exceptions from here. All persons within the municipal boundary of the city engaging in any activity outside of their residence while other people are present shall wear protective face coverings when they must leave their home or report to work. And then from there it goes on to examples of when they do not have to wear it. So it's kind of very broad language. And this is, like I say, this is a model ordinance, so I imagine Carbondale, if they did work with this ordinance and draft their own, they may have, I have not seen Carbondale's, they may have crafted specific language to what they are doing.
Ms. Hughes?
Richard, can you tell me if in that ordinance, the model one from Illinois Municipal League, if it states anything about through phase, whatever, 5, I think you said. Can you?
This one does not. It is in effect until
I was going to say, how is the effective?
It just remains in effect until the city council would take action that it no longer is in this model ordinance.
I would like to see if we do this to have something like Mike was saying, through phase 5 or whatever, when we see things going down. And then it would come to light for us to eliminate that ordinance. If we do this, I think that we should go by phases.
It's kind of the same thing, though. We can always reverse
Well,
our
that
ordinance,
is true,
so.
but
I was just going by what was in Carbondale's.
What's the penalty in that ordinance for not wearing a mask?
I think it's $7,500 to $2,500 if it's the one that I read today. Oh, no, that's for businesses, excuse me.
This model ordinance does not have a recommended fine. Correct. It would have a penalty by payment of a fine.
Well, I mean, this is a type of thing where, if you're going to adopt an ordinance, we probably should have had more of the details hashed out before we arrived this evening, because, the pandemic is on, and tabling things for further review probably leaves some people feeling wanting who have spoke this evening. Ms. Campos?
Yes, so to be clear, the ordinance will mandate to everybody wear a mask as you leave your property, your home, and the 6-foot distance between people, it's going to be totally disregarded, it's going to be at all time, or the use of mask is going to be mandate if the 6-foot distance cannot be kept.
I guess, Gloria, your question is, does the ordinance say that the mask requirement is only in effect when social distancing isn't possible? Is that the question, Gloria?
Yeah, pretty much. It's going to be a mandate as we leave our homes, and nothing to do with the social distancing, so regardless of having social distancing or no, there you go, mask.
Mike, does Carbondale's have anything about social?
Well, this one, I can just tell you real quick if you want to hear it. It says examples of when face coverings are required, included but are not limited to shopping or walking at retail businesses like grocery stores and pharmacies, picking up food from drive-through or curbside pickup, visiting a healthcare provider, all educational institutions except where students and faculty can maintain a 6-foot social distancing, traveling on public transportation, taxi or ride share. This is little print, you'll have to bear with me. Interacting with customers, clients, or coworkers at a place of business or worship that is open to the general public, performing services for state and local government agencies where close interactions with other people are unavoidable, and when feeling sick, coughing, or sneezing, or otherwise ill. And then it goes into some of the exceptions, and I think we've discussed some of them.
So pretty much everywhere we go.
Mr. Urbis, did you have something?
I asking really anything. I was just asking if there's been a motion.
Yes.
There was a motion, but I don't know that it really defined what it is that we are going to do. I think Mr. Pearson has a motion, I think.
I thought I did too, but I'm not sure what I've done now. I'm all confused again. But I think my motion would be to adopt the motion that Mike and Richard are talking about, the Illinois Municipal League with Richard, would you recommend any changes for us to adopt that motion?
And that would be the city council decision. You know, we can do it in the form of the Illinois Municipal League model ordinance. I guess the question would be, Mike had suggested that Carbondale has a definite ending of it once we enter phase 5.
Well, that's what it said, till phase 5 is over with, or until the numbers drop low enough that, I forgot how it was worded.
I mean, it's essentially, if we vote on a motion to accept the ordinance that Richard has, none of us have read that. So we're voting on a motion, on an ordinance that none of us have read. I mean, I'm not comfortable with that. I mean, I'll vote no. I'm going to vote no probably regardless, but I mean, that, especially without knowing what the ordinance reads, I wouldn't want to vote yes on it. And I wouldn't assume that anybody else would either.
All right, well, I can't make a motion.
Well, I think Alderman Pearson.
I'm trying to make a motion, but every time I make one, every time I speak, I really get sidetracked somewhere. I'm not sure where I am here right now. So, Mike, go ahead. I think you understand.
No, I just thought you made a motion that we go ahead and follow the Illinois Municipal League's motion. And if that is your motion, I will second that motion.
Okay, that's the motion. We have a second.
All right, just so everyone on the conference call knows as well, the motion is to adopt the model ordinance recommended by the Illinois Municipal League. And there is a second. So I'd ask for a roll call vote.
Absolutely.
And could you pull that mic over, Clerk Hunziker?
Alderman Hughes?
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
No. Okay. Alderman Curry-Witzman?
I'm in agreement for mask, but I don't want to say yes to an ordinance.
That's how I is
Like
too.
I haven't read it, so I'm going to say no as well.
Okay. Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Pearson?
Yes.
Alderman McComb?
Alderman McComb?
No response. Alderman Urbis?
No.
That was a no?
Yes, Mr. Urbis votes no.
Okay. Alderman Bastian?
Yes.
Alderman Campos?
No.
Alderman Pittman?
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it does not pass.
All right, motion fails. I would encourage the alderman to, review that, and we will continue to hold that.
Perhaps we can bring this back even, and I hate to wait 2 weeks because
Well, that's the problem. I mean, I agree without reading it but still we have to move fast if we're going to do so.
I just think that we need to study it before.
Well, I would have no problem entertaining a special city council meeting if, that would be something that, we would determine that we would want to do to consider the issue.
There's some things that we work out, but it's...
Could we do that, Mayor? Could we go ahead and set that and see if we could get something together with maybe Mr. Blake? And
I think it would be better for me to just not on the fly coordinate schedules. It's certainly something I'm willing to do, but...
I was just more concerned that we're on the time frame.
No, I get that.
I get that too.
Completely. Mr. Chief Ellemeyer.
If you guys would like, I'll reach back out to the businesses and speak with them again to make sure they understand that if they tell people that they can't come in and they try to go in, then we will come and take care of that for them and remove those people, if that'll help you guys any with this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay? I'll reiterate what the fire chief and I told them all on May 3rd or 4th. Okay?
Yes, please.
So should we have a motion?
Thank you. No, I don't believe what other
That'll
motion.
just be a directive.
Good.
All right. Well, I will certainly put out an email to the council on the, to make sure that everybody, because I don't even know if everybody has a copy of
I
this
was going to say, you
ordinance.
may want to send the link that
And
can
so-
look it up. It is in that email from Brad Cole today, but you may want to send the link out so that,
I didn't receive an email.
I didn't receive it.
I got it at 3:59 or something like
Well,
that.
I will send it out so you can look for it coming from my email, and then you can sort of reply back, obviously individually, so we don't violate Open Meetings Act things.
Read the whole thing.
And we'll go from there. All right. Going to our next item, the consideration of a municipal power of attorney for residential energy aggregation. Every so many years, we do this, at least this is our current group that we're working with and have for several years now. Our current agreement expires in December 2020. This essentially allows us to, when the time comes, enter into that agreement so we can be a part of this. I forget how many cities are involved in this. I believe it's somewhere north of 50 or 60 in southern Illinois. I admit that I still don't fully understand electric aggregation. There are times when I look at it and I'm not sure, you know, it seems that everybody else is doing it, and it seems like this is the thing to do and that people are saving money by doing it. How they're doing that, Ms. Hunziker works for Ameren, maybe she is willing to tell us, but
I have no idea.
in any case, it's become part and parcel of what we do.
Well, it must not be working too well the way I got my Ameren bill last month, so.
Yeah, mine,
It didn't save me a whole lot.
it didn't save me a whole lot either, but in any case, are we willing to adopt this agreement?
I would make a motion to that effect.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Thank you, Mr. Urbis. Now, of course, I'll be coming back with a report about the various things that were offered, and AGE will be making a report as well, I'm sure. So they typically would, but I think COVID has caused issues there also. All right, so that is community relations. Is there any additional public comment under items of community relations?
Am I under the understanding you're going to look at the ordinance and see what Carbondale has?
That is correct, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, that takes us out of community relations, takes us to public improvement, chaired by Mr. Mike Bastian. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. I do know under old business, we have nothing listed, and we have nothing listed under new business. Do we have any public comment? With that being said, we can close.
All right. Just comes to mind, speaking of public improvement, I want to thank Department of Transportation, as well as E.T. Simons, as well as our own street department, Walnut Street, still out stripe, looks real good. That takes us to Public Works, chaired by Mr. Dan Bratton. In his absence, I'll run through these agenda items. First, under old business, we have consideration of Emmanuel Lutheran proposal for alley improvement. Mr. Sheffer, do you have anything to report on that particular project?
I did go out and look at the alley on two separate occasions, once with met Darren Mills out there, and also once met Samron. On both occasions, it had rained previously, so it was very apparent that there was a lot of drainage issues on that alley. And I did, in my conversations with Samron, ask them how they were putting the 2 inches of asphalt down, and they were just going to add it to the existing surface, which I think would have just made those drainage issues even worse. So I did ask them for a price to go ahead and mill 2 inches off, and I think they're going to use those millings to level up the areas where there's some rutting and low areas. So their price to do that was $3,000. So I think the original estimate they gave the city was $9,150 with a deduct of $2,000 if you did it at the same time as they did the Lutheran parking area. So that would be $7,150 plus the $3,000, I think would be money well spent on that alley.
I would just note to the council members that we did have a letter from Ms. Sarah Faye Martin. She lives in the area, and she details why she supports the improvement of the alley. All right, is there a motion to move forward? Ms. Campos?
Yes, I have a question. Reading her letter, she mentioned about the sinkhole. Have that issue been addressed and checked?
I believe there was reading the minutes from the last meeting, Mr. Shepard said there might need to be some additional base added in some areas. Harold, is that the case? And I think that is what she is talking about.
Yeah, we did look at, there is an inlet on the west side of the alley. And the way that was installed, it's going to be kind of difficult because what's happening there with this alley, the water on the west end of that is draining back east towards that inlet. Draining west to that inlet. This is on the east side, behind Farm Fresh.
Yeah.
The water is not getting out into a storm sewer on 19th Street. So that inlet was put in there apparently to drain both from the west to the east and the east to the, or east to the west, right behind the Farm Fresh. So apparently that's where they were having the problem. So when we mill that, we will try to look at that inlet and see if there's anything we can do with it. But there's very little, I think. I mean, just filling in the ruts, I think, will help more than anything in that area. But once we mill it, we can take a look at that. That inlet's been in there a long time, so.
Yeah, I know.
I don't really even know. I wasn't there when it was raining. I'm assuming it's draining because there wasn't water standing around the inlet itself.
I just hope that it won't be any sewer collapsing or something like that.
Well, I think that this is a good project. Farm Fresh is a, retail sales tax generator for us and improving it. And of course, I think Emmanuel Lutheran is probably as involved in the community as any church in the community. But Mr. Pearson, did you have something?
No, I was going to make the motion to go ahead and take their bid for $9,150 to resurface that particular alley.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, up next we have under new business, consideration of change order number 1 for the wastewater treatment plant road, and we also have a consideration of payment in the same regard. So this change order, Harold Sheffer, I hate to keep making you get up and down, but what can you tell us about it other than what we can see here on paper, if anything?
Okay, I think we've talked at length about the situations out there with areas that don't seem to dry out, and it's primarily around where areas are draining. And I know Sierra Bravo did come to us with a plan saying they couldn't work in a lot of the areas out there, wanting to put 3 foot of rock down. I mean, that had a price tag of about $90,000 to $100,000. We went out and identified those areas. They did get a rather large track hoe stuck out there, almost up to the cab, and had to get 2 other pieces of equipment to pull that piece of equipment out. So what they have done is they have installed rock, 2 feet of rock in certain areas, which has allowed them to begin the hauling process of the fill dirt. So this is a change order, and there would be another one for another area up by Mrs. Kruger's house. But this would I think between the 2 areas, I think we're going to look at probably a price increase. This one is for $12,772, and I think we're going to be looking somewhere around another $20,000 more. So, I really don't think they would be able to work on this project without doing that. They are, at this time, like I said, they are pulling dirt and getting dirt applied, and we are getting very good compaction, and they're not having any trouble now getting their equipment out onto the job site.
Questions?
Well, we have to do this. I mean, that road has to be done, but my question is, why in the world didn't they know that? They knew that was a swamp when they made the bid.
Well,
I mean, it doesn't take a brilliant guy to figure out there's water down there and it's gonna be soft.
no.
Why was this not in the bid to begin with?
Well, I mean, you know, I think their attitude and I guess kind of the way we look at it a little bit, you know, is that area has dried out before, but it's not drying out now. And I don't know whether it's a combination of the Mississippi River, and therefore the big muddy at higher elevations more often than they ever were. But you know, some of those areas, I'm just talking with plant personnel, you know, one of them will tell me that the area has dried out before, and others will tell me that it never has. So, I mean, there's just certain areas that don't dry out down there.
All right, is there a motion to adopt the change order?
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have consideration of payment number 1 to Sierra Bravo Contractors for the wastewater treatment plant road. And I am looking to see how much that is. Is that included in this change order? Was it stapled to that?
No, it would be on the pay estimate form on the back side. It is $56,251.19.
All right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to pay the payment number 1 to Sierra Bravo. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, up next we have consideration of motor fuel resolution for repaving intersections at Walnut Street. As you know, we do have some additional work done to some of the approaches as part of the Walnut Street resurfacing, and we need to adopt this in order to take advantage of motor fuel funds to help pay for that.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, that is everything under Public Works. Is there any public comment on items of a Public Works nature? Hearing none, I'll come out of Public Works and go to Public Safety chaired by Mr. Russell Brown. Russell?
Okay, don't have anything on old business. New business, consideration of eliminate parking lane from 10th to 11th Street and 16th to 17th Street on Walnut.
I can speak to that, Russell. The parking lanes on the north side of Walnut Street in front of Joni Bailey's law office, at her request, she requested that those be eliminated. It was also a request from IDOT because there are oftentimes people who park there and instead of walking down to the corner and using the crosswalk are just sort of running across traffic to go into the courthouse. And so the realignment of the lanes and the elimination of that parking, they believe, will reduce that safety concern. And the 16th to 17th Street is on the south side of Walnut. I never did realize that there were even still spaces there on Walnut Street in front of Subway and the former Family Video. Those spaces were there previous to that development and the parking lot. And so those spaces are really no longer needed, and the lanes will be realigned there also.
There are still parking spaces there that get used in front of what would now be the assessor's office, correct? And the current home of the assessor and the Riverettes, right?
There are parking spots on the west side of the assessor's building and on the south side of their building.
I'm talking about between 16th and 17th.
Oh, yes, those spots in front of the assessor's office on Walnut and Riverettes would still be.
And the salon, they will stay there? Okay.
It would only eliminate those spots in front of Family Video and Subway, is my understanding when I met with John Eaton on it.
Well, I mean, we do have in here from 16th to 17th.
Yeah,
which would include the ones in front of Riverettes and the, what?
And across the street too, both sides.
I think there's only parking on the one side right there.
No.
His request says from 16th to 17th.
Yeah, it is.
Well, that is something I have to get clarification on, because when I met with John Eaton, the project manager, we specifically stood there on Walnut Street, and he said, these spots in front of Subway and Family Video.
Then can we word it as from that alley going west between 16th and 17th?
We certainly can. I know that this is baked into this letter of understanding from the Department of Transportation. And so this letter from Keith Roberts, their Region 5 engineer, is what we would essentially be adopting or not adopting. So I'm a little hesitant to some extent to just strike the language that they sent to us. And
the only one I know, there's the salon right there. I know River Rats has a parking lot. The building being used as the assessor's office currently, I think there's a parking lot there also. The salon, I don't know if they do. I know they have parking along South 16th Street to some extent.
They have like two spots because there is a driveway, and they have a couple of spots in front of the salon and River Rats. But also across the street, we're gonna have the new barbecue factory there. So if we eliminate parking lot on both sides between 16th and 17th Street, we somehow might be hurting business too.
all right, well, I think what I need to do, you're right to point this out, because the understanding of what was told to me is not the same thing that's reflected in this letter. So I would request that we just table this item, and I can get some more clarification. I can come back at the next meeting, or I can communicate with the council what I hear. Because really, this is just a function of when they get ready to stripe it, how are we going to do this? So I need to get some more clarification on this.
10th and 11th is not a problem.
Sure.
That should go. But 16th and 17th, that it might be an issue.
Okay.
We might want to check with meals.
All right, I will do that. I will follow up on that.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking those additional questions. All right, Russell?
Okay, next item, consideration of declaring vehicles as surplus. 2006, 2009 Ford Vic. Chief?
Yes, we have 3 aging vehicles that we're wanting to put out of service and go ahead and surplus them out. It's 2 2006 Ford Crown Vics and 1 2009 Ford Crown Vic. Costing us more money than they're worth, and since we've been moving forward, getting better vehicles, we're in good shape to get rid of those 3 and still have 3 extra ones left over for auxiliary and officer use when they have troubles with their vehicles. It's in the rotation.
Thank you, Chief.
Need a motion on that?
I believe we do need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is consideration of request for 4-way stop sign at 21st and Pine. Mike?
I can speak to that, Alderman Brown. I did have a request that a 4-way stop be at the corner of 21st and Pine. There is a stop sign heading north and south, but not east and west. I have lived on that street. I've traveled that for many, many years, and they do fly down that street going east and west. But that being said, I do believe we have some public comment, Mayor.
Okay.
The person that requested it has called in, so.
I believe we have a member of the public who wants to speak to the council about the stop sign at 21st and Pine. If you are on the line, please state your name and then share what you have to say with the council.
Yes, this is Tammy Hopkins Williams again. I'm speaking for the entire neighborhood on the 2100 block of Pine Street. Everyone here would really like to see a stop sign on this, a 4-way stop put on that corner. We have kids that cross the road coming from the middle school to walk home. We have a lot of children on our street now that we didn't have a few years ago. I have been looking for a stop sign on this corner for several years, and it's never happened. It is dangerous on this street. One of the neighbors had a visitor today, and her exact words were, "You need a stop sign and a speed bump in the middle of this road. This is ridiculous." It's very dangerous on this street now for children, and it's for people that walk their dogs and everything else, because they fly down our street. And I'd appreciate the council looking into a four-way stop sign on those corners. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I did drive the area myself and was a little surprised that it wasn't a four-way stop. Most all the other intersections in that neighborhood, generally speaking, are. And so...
Right. Police officers hit in cars on that street. Twice that I know of, and since I've lived here.
So if there is a motion...
I would like to make a motion, Mayor, that we make it a four-way stop.
I'll second it.
21st and Pine Street.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any public comments?
Just to be sure, the person who made public comment on that issue, the motion was made to make it a four-way stop, and it was adopted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. No other comments will come out of public safety.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. That takes us to personnel, chaired by Ms. Barbara Hughes.
Thank you, Mayor. Right now, we have no old business, and there's no new business. Any public comment on personnel? Hearing none, I think we can come out of the Mayor.
Thank you very much. I don't have anything under the mayor's report this evening, so I'll go straight to council member requests. I'll start with Ms. Hughes.
Nothing, thank you.
Ms. Curry-Witzman.
I don't have anything.
Mr. Brown.
Nothing. Got a complaint from people in the neighborhood while I'm mad about my neighbor. Trees that blow down in the front yard. Can't see the house with the trees that blow down.
We're talking about Costa's place?
What gave you that idea?
Aren't we all?
Well,
city was over and cut the grass the other day.
If Mr. Kennedy could make a note to communicate to Mr. Enzor to take a closer look at Mr. Costa's residence, I'd appreciate it. Anything further?
No wild animals climbing over the fence today from his house. That's about it.
Okay. Well, reminds me of the Addams family.
Yeah. Or the Clampets.
Yeah. Ma and Pa Kettle. Mr. Pearson.
I just kind of like to thank the street department for clearing the streets out. They did a good job again this time. They came by my house today, one guy with a truck, and he was working evidently over lunch hour to try to get all the limbs out of the street. So I'd like to thank Darren and his crew for doing another good job on that problem we had last night.
Yes, and I saw Dr. Jeff Ripperda had put on his Facebook page this afternoon. He said the same thing, appreciated the Public Works Department for having come through and cleaned up some things that were in the street. So appreciate that very much. Clerk Hunziker? All right. Mr. Bastian?
I have nothing.
Ms. Campos?
Nothing. Stay healthy.
Amen. Mr. Pittman?
Do we know when the next phase of the, I guess is it ComEd, Ameren together cleanup of that building on 6th Street and Walnut? Do we know when that's going to begin?
I do not. Mr. Kennedy, do you know any updates on when the old Ameren Dispatch Center may be demolished, cleaned up, etc.?
Spring of 21.
Okay. Spring of 21. All right.
That's all I have.
All right. Mr. Urbis, are you still on the call? Mr. McComb, are you on the call? All right. I'll move on from those. That'll take me to department head requests. I'll go to Chief McBride.
Nothing, sir.
Chief, I think I know the answer to this question, but I was looking back at my minutes from the last meeting. Is there anything to report about the occupancy issue that we discussed at our last meeting in regard to the bars, et cetera?
Nothing yet. I have been a little under the weather, and I'm getting ready to take that issue up later this week and next week.
Okay, thank you very much. Chief Ellermeyer? Mr. Mills?
Nothing.
Mr. Sheffer?
I would, that's a project that hasn't been mentioned, but it's almost complete, the Safe Routes to School project. They do have to put the signs up, and the striping, all the striping will be done along with the Walnut Street project.
Thank you for mentioning that. I want to thank Greater Egypt Regional Planning Commission. They were really the ones that were the driving force behind getting that Safe Routes to School grant, the upgraded crossings, which came out of people coming to the meeting and asking for them. So that's very good. Mr. Gladson?
Nothing.
Mr. Evans?
Nothing.
Attorney Blake?
Nothing.
Ms. Ripley?
Nothing.
Mr. Lee?
Nothing.
Mr. Kennedy?
Nothing.
Ms. Volley?
Nothing.
Ms. Bryant?
Nothing.
Did I miss anybody? Oh, Mr. Manwaring?
Nothing.
Okay. I think I got to everybody. I think. If I didn't, I apologize. All right, I am going to, at this time, ask for a 5-minute recess because we do need to have an executive session, and we'll take that recess now, use the restroom, stretch your legs, we'll come back and